Welcome to the introduction for the Rayman behind the scenes video. I'm Sam.
And I'm Nico.
And we're here to tell you how we made it. Or actually, just kind of show you what happened when we shot it.
Yeah, we got some good stuff here because we were showing off new rigs with the camera, a lot of cool stunts, and how we approach, I guess showing you guys how we approach like writing and structuring a shoot so that it goes smoothly without any problems. I can't talk very well right now.
And we'll also teach you how to get a kid in your video and have him act well. You'll see more about that later.
Yes, this is our first time acting with kids. They always say don't direct kids or animals. We did animals with Kittens on the Beat.
Easy. Well, time consuming.
And now I finally have a kid in the video.
And a lot easier than cats, actually.
Mostly the saying is true, though. So we're gonna get ready to shoot this. First, we gotta get everybody into costume. We gotta get everybody into makeup. And while it's happening, I'm gonna go to the location with our stunt coordinator, Eric Linden. We're gonna walk through all the shots and kind of figure it out. Then I'll probably come back and sit around for a while people finish getting put into costume and makeup. And we start shooting.
I'm Trista, I'm a makeup artist, and for this shoot we painted the stunt guys green and brown so they look more like these ogre characters in the video game. And I used like alcohol-based makeup and airbrushed them, so it pretty much lasts all day and with minimal touch-ups since they're going to be running around and flying through the air and stuff like that.
What's up, guys? I'm Eric Linden with Action Factory, and we're here on Tugger Ranch filming Rayman for Corridor Digital. Me and the Action Factory team have done a lot of stuff with Corridor at this point. See, we've done Shock Troopers was our first endeavor where people were flying through the air. We've done first person, third person. We just did Gravity Gun with Corridor Digital. Today we're doing a little thing with Rayman, our digital character, and Barbara, who's going to be wielding a giant battle axe. So we have some stunt guys out here today that are going to take some sweet falls. We might get into a little air ram work where we have a hydraulic that launches people through the air. And some just good and down and dirty battle stuff.
When planning out a shoot, like any type of shoot, it always comes in like stages and layers and stuff like that. You always start with like the most simple idea, and eventually you end up with this very refined, complex thing where you're organizing a dozen people all around on set. For this video in particular, the first part of this idea was basically, all right, we're taking this Kane character and setting an entire like action sequence to music. We don't even know what's going to happen yet. And basically from there we just start elaborating. You do the next pass where it's like, who's actually going to be in the video? All right, these characters. What are they going to look like? This, put their costumes on. And you basically just keep going through these little steps. So, you know, from step one, you know, like you almost have no idea what the final product is exactly going to be like. I mean, you have some sort of imaginary kind of vision of what it can end up like, but the process is something that definitely takes time and energy and effort kind of building your way all the way there. For our shoots, we typically don't write scripts. When people see like a script, you know, the Courier font, you know, all this formatting stuff, we actually rarely use that. We only use that when we need to be very formalized, when we're maybe pitching projects or trying to get like professional actors to work with us. But when it's just us, sometimes we don't even have an outline, so it's just like a shot list, or the other way around, sometimes we only have an outline. Because Nico and myself are usually the only people who really have to worry about that stuff. It's very informal. Sometimes it's just like a Google Doc or something like that. But typically, outlines and shot lists are what we primarily use. Outlines, just so we can explain what it's about to everyone, and then a shot list for ourselves, so we know each individual setup that we have to do that day.
So this piece is set to a song, and it's really, really integrated into it. And in order to come up with where all the hits happen, where all the cuts happen, how many cuts I even have, I made something, we call it a video board. There's a couple different ways you can go about doing this kind of stuff. In this case, what I made was a sequence of just colored frames and just cuts for each time we have a cut in real life, and I just have text describing what's happening. And occasionally I'll have a flash to emphasize a beat that happens within the shot. So after making an edit, which is just literally just cutting through colored shots to the beat with some flashes, I then had an idea of how many beats I had for this part of the fight scene, or for this little dialogue scene, or for this little setup. And it was from there that I could go on to actually make the piece. I'm using this viewfinder so I can plan my shots without having to use the camera.
When we go with the pirate theme, that could be a...
Like everybody has machete,
Yeah.
something that looks like a knife, machete.
On the horizon.
So as you guys probably know, we play a lot of airsoft. And we actually found that the dump pouches where you throw all your mags when you're playing airsoft, they work great for like utility bags on set. So like I'll keep a wireless monitor in here, or like right now I got my radio and a viewfinder. Probably throw my iPad in there. So yeah, they're super handy. As you guys know, we get all our stuff from Evike, so evike.com. Airsoft stuff. Woo!
Sometimes when framing people up, like, you're trying to essentially focus people's attention on the center of action. And a lot of people like to frame dialogue or certain shots like with these really artistic, you know, angles where like the guy's like way off to the left and the whole frame's empty and stuff like that. And while they can kind of look good at first, if you draw people's eyes too far to the edge of the frame, it starts becoming very distracting of people because their field of vision is no longer surrounded by the image itself. It's partially the image and then whatever's next to the screen, which is not part of your story. You know, that's their living room or blackness in a theater. And so you always want to make sure you're not forcing people's center of attention and their eye too far off the screen, because it starts becoming either annoying, distracting, and for some people, even like disorienting or painful to watch.
I'm gonna be right here, close up on your left shoulder, okay? You guys are walking, and Brandon, you're gonna look over your shoulder. You're gonna see Rayman and Barbara over there, and you're basically gonna just be scowling at them like you're doing now. It's just like
Hey, I'm Lily Fuller. I'm playing Barbara, and today we're shooting a promo video for Rayman Legends, the new Rayman Legends for Wii. And I'm swinging this axe around and killing a lot of pirates. It's no big deal. Yeah.
All right, so getting through the day. It's getting a little bit late. We're not super behind schedule, but we are a little bit, so we need to accelerate just a little bit here. So we're being strategic and having Eric here plan through the next shot with the actress, get it all figured out, get all the stunt stuff set up. I'm going to take another stunt guy, and I'm going to go shoot another sequence that doesn't require too much stuff. So we're basically going to split up here, multitask, and then come back together, and that should get us back on schedule.
So for the Rayman digital character, more than likely I'm going to be standing in for that character, and I'll be mimicking the movements that he's going to portray outside of like my arm actually stretching, and I'll be used as a template for the stunt guys to run in on certain timings and take the reactions, and then we'll do a take where I'm literally not there and they do the exact same movement, and then Corridor works their magic and there's Rayman.
Alright, so there's a lot of different techniques you can use to get a stunt guy in the air. You can use jump, you can hop off a trampoline, or you can use an air ram. And the thing about an air ram is it requires a certain approach. You can't just necessarily stand on it and do something. If you do, it'll look kind of alright. But we have a specific bit of choreography here where Barbara ducks and like chambers her swing, and then the next shot hits the guy in the back and he goes flying like this as the axe hits him in the back of the head. So that's what they're setting up to do right here. And so we can get a really cool shot with a ton of air, and it'll look super epic, and like she's super powerful. So that's what we're doing now.
So when doing slow motion shots, we've kind of started just using the phrase a 300 shot, simply because almost all slow motion shots you see nowadays are in the movie 300. There's like a couple types that you see over and over again. One particular is the classic like speed ramped, like fighting midair shot. We've actually done a bunch of those in multiple videos. Most recently was our Zelda video. We open a fight sequence with the swords with essentially a 300 shot where a guy runs up, jumps into speed ramps with him posing with the sword. Technically, I think that's more like Troy.
Yeah, opening Troy shot.
Yeah, but you know, that's inspired by 300. So whatever. But basically in the sequence, we're doing the same thing here. It works really well when doing fights because it helps establish a rhythm, and you can force the rhythm because you're speed ramping and choosing the points you want to emphasize. So that is where we are doing our 300 shot.
Action!
That
was really good. Makeup. For those of you guys who watch our channel, you know that we like to shoot a lot of things handheld. In this case, we're shooting with an Epic today that we rented from our friend Arthur. We're shooting it handheld. And when people are shooting with cinematic digital cameras like this, they like to load them up with a ton of stuff. And I understand why. If you're on a big movie shoot, you have all this different equipment you need to work with. But we're just a couple guys running around in the woods. So we're all about light handheld setups. Let's just get really nice shots. Let's just set up things, be a one-man crew. I can pull focus just fine with a single hand. And really what it all comes down to for a setup like this is eliminating as much weight as possible. And the thing that puts a lot of weight on the camera is the battery. So today, I'm trying out the Red battery belt clip running the battery here and just a cable to the camera. I also have another cable here, which will eventually be Velcroed on, which is for our wireless monitor. So I have all that stuff just sitting on my hip, and then the camera is just the bare minimum camera body and lens and screen and a couple handles to get all my shots. So that character you just saw, he's the boss Lividstone. Are there boss Lividstones in the game? Probably, I don't know. But we're taking some creative liberties. He's got a better jacket than everybody else. He's got a cooler feather than everybody else. He also rages out way harder because he can attack and hurt more people without dying than anybody else. So he just made his entrance, and we're gonna see what happens to him in the rest of the piece.
Kids, what are they? Working with kids, how do you do it? Honestly, we're kind of improvising here. We don't do it much, we don't know much about it, but I think after kind of talking with them, you know, like kids are, they want to play, they want attention, you know, they have tons of energy. It's like, how do you get them to focus that on a scene? You can't tell them like imaginary things. You can't say, oh, there's supposed to be a guy over there, or there's a CG character here, or, you know, you're thinking this feeling, you know, it's like, it's all about the physicality of it. So it's like, if you want a kid to make an expression, you need to actually work with, you know, their facial expressions and actually say, oh, make this kind of face, like you're seeing, you know, a toy. Like I told them an example, like make a surprise, or like, what face would you make if you saw Optimus Prime in real life? And he was like, oh. And the only reason I mentioned that is because he was actually playing with Transformers toys earlier. So it's something he could actually physically relate to, that he actually had experience with. That we were playing games of copycat. I was behind the camera. Actually, I said, all right, copy me. And so I do these moves and he'd copy me, and he's actually basing it off of something physical, real, in front of him. And that definitely works, because, you know, he's actually basing it off of something that is there to interact with, you know, not an imaginary idea, I guess.
Right now what I'm trying to figure out is blocking. And blocking is where you figure out where people's positions are going to be. So I know the basic actions. I even have the shots generally figured out, like this is a close-up, this is a wide, etc. But what I don't know is, now that we're in the environment, is where everybody's going to be. So now I'm sitting here thinking, maybe the boss should be up there, and Rayman and Barbara will be over there. Or maybe the boss should be over there, and they should be here. And I'm looking at the backgrounds, and what might happen with when the camera's here versus there. Or wondering if I should even just straight up flip them and put them on other sides. So it's a lot of question of, do I want people running left to right to left? Do I want this in the background? Do I want that in the background? And generally speaking, you know, you look at things like, I'm right here and I see this row of trees. And this row of trees looks kind of pretty. And the trees behind it look kind of pretty. So that's going to make a nice background. So I'm starting with that as a starting point. This is a nice background. Now the question is the boss going to be down there? Or is he going to be right here and the characters are going to be down there? And so the best thing you can do when you're in like these kind of like brain teaser puzzles is just position things and start, like don't start shooting, just start planning and like start setting stuff up. And then once you kind of start that, it'll start to really clarify, and then it's easy to see if you need to make changes. What's going to happen is Fiddler is going to take a hit on the ground, he's going to flop around like a dead bad guy. It's going to be great. That's the end of those grueling 2 days. They actually weren't that grueling, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lemon farm where Jake and me learned to eat lemons.
So now we basically have a week to do all our post-production, to edit and do all the visual effects, sound, music, the whole shebang. So you guys are probably a little familiar with that if you've followed any other of our behind-the-scenes videos.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. A few years ago we made a movie called Dark Island, and after that I made a personal vow to never have a CG character in a video ever again. And I guess we broke it, so now we have to do all the effects on this piece, and it's going to be really fun. It's going to turn out great, though.
I can't wait. So guys, thanks for watching, and feel free to check out the video if you haven't yet on our main channel, and follow us on Twitter if you want to ask us questions about stuff, and
watch our show Land Party if you like video games.
Yeah, download Chivalry and play with us.
Yeah, we have a server. It's really fun.
We tweet out when we play, so you'll see it.
Yeah.
All right. Laters.